I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Tell these salty motherfuckers to tell the truth. Tell politicians to give up the rooms. Tell silent voters to stand up to the booth.
God, it's me. Can you hear my plea? Feeling like I'm lost in this world, can't you see? Demons creeping in, trying to take control of me. But I'm just trying to find the light, trying to break free. I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. But why you keep forgetting me? What did I do? Trying to have a convo, but you starting to preach. Feeling like I'm on a leash. Can't find no peace, can't find no peace. Living in hell, can't you hear my plea? I'm suffocating, can't you see? Why you let these false prophets roam free? While the real ones suffer, can't you see? I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Why you keep targeting me? What did I do? Trying to have a convo, but you starting to preach. Feel like I'm on a leash, can't find no peace.
Hardest battles, strongest soldiers, greatest burden, broadest shoulders. Pushing up just like these boulders. This conflict like it's water, still this mercy. Take my chalice, seeking grace through all this malice. All of these salty motherfuckers could give out.
Politics and sinners, they all the same.
Got me stuck in this endless game. But I won't give up,
won't play the role.
Gotta do what's best
for my soul.
I'm not perfect, God, neither are you. Tell these salty motherfuckers to tell the truth. Tell these politicians to give up the room. Tell silent voters to stand up to the booth. Living wild but truthfully free. God keep on watching over me. Take my pleas and keep the receipts. I just want all of humanity to be free. And clean the seas and stop the greed. I want to see clean skies and all.
Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. And welcome to the Urban Conservative Podcast. And I want to talk about this morning is exposing the scams, right? How politicians, pastors, and informants are cashing in while our communities crumble. And I know y'all are seeing what's going on in Minnesota with all these and we're going to go into this because I really feel like there's a lot of things in here in this. But first, I want a New Way Alliance, one of the biggest treatment companies in Minnesota, had been giving kickbacks and illegal billing in Minnesota, and it was like there was a lot of people that I feel like they knew about it, and just because they were getting paid, it was okay just to look the other way. But before I get into that, I want to get into Surviving Minnesota with Abstract Sam and Urban Conservative. So with that being said, I'll be right back right after this.
Just to get by in this cold town. Just to get by in this cold town. Just to get by in this cold town. Just to get.
Lord, yeah, in Minnesota, we hustle to survive. Nothing's given. We push through these cold streets where the struggles are given. From the north side to the east side, we push rocks out the back of our homes. We smell the bitterness in the air from dawn to dusk. We're out here alone. We move through life like soldiers on a mission, never backing down. We break our backs, hear the snap of our bones, just to get by in this cold town. Just to get by in this cold town. Just to get by in this cold town. Just to get by in a place where they want us to die. We plug into the system, but the system's corrupt. Spirits muted while the streets talk, rumors erupt. We were survivors, turning to consumers, just to survive the winners. We get by just to get by, keeping our heads high when the sky's filled with lies. Just to get by in this cold town.
Just to get by in this cold town.
Just to get by in this cold town, in a place where they want us to die. In a place where they want us. Ask why some live in trailers, cuss like sailors, struggling to stay afloat. I paint pictures with words like a street poet, spitting truth in every note. My grandma raced through cribs on her own, help in sight. I think about her grind, find strength in myself, day and night. These words burn in my mouth, hot like sails down south. Before my brother bailed me out, we were just trying to get by. Just to get by, just to survive, we do or die like Bed-Stuy under this cold red sky. We keep it G, say for show, for real, and keeping it lit. It's so easy to grab a shorty, smoke trees, and sip that fifth. Just to get by in this cold town. Just to get by in this cold town. Just to get by in this cold town, in a place where they want us to die. In a place where they want us to die. Just to get by in this cold town. Just to get by in this cold town. Just to get by in this cold town. Just to get by in this cold town, in a place where they want us to die. In a place where they want us to die.
I'm not trying to abandon you, I promise. Both of my feet are planted firmly in your doorway, but I'm not blind, deaf, or dumb. Loving people for the sake of it has always been my rule of thumb, and I'm no gardener, but I can make anyone grow. From the comfort of your doorway, from the security of our home, I've outgrown the need to roam, and when I say I'm outside, I'm talking about in the sunlight. Trying to find some reason to shut down the fights that happen in my mind every night because I feel guilty, like I'm slipping, but the ice is too thick to actually break. I know this conversation feels like more than we can take, but I believe in us, despite how absolutely moronic I feel for doing so. I'm so used to forcing my way through a world that tells me no that I had to learn how to spoil myself. And somewhere along the way I gained a special sense of wealth, the kind that can't be measured with coins. It's that feeling of wanting to be joined by that person whose smile made you walk 10 miles uphill both ways, because on your weirdest, most random days, they can look at you and smile, ready to run those miles with you.
Just to get by in this cold town. Just to get by in this cold town, in a place where they want us to die. In a place where, my activism ain't just talk. I'm attacking the system. Black and Latinos packed in prison. Their voice is missing. All they got is that rap to listen to feel like they're seen. I tell them, we miss you. The love is unconditional. No matter how hard it's been, even when life's critical, when living feels miserable, remember your position's pivotal. I ain't lying, we out here just to get by. Keep our heads high, stay fly, no lie. The TV's got us dreaming of stars, but not the ones in the sky. They got us reaching for fame while our dreams pass us by. Some chase enchantments, trying to fit the mold. Saturday sinners, Sunday morning at the altar, hoping to feel whole. But what we really need is love, not the drugs we get high on, to get by, just to get by. Our parents dream like Lennon, imagine all the people. We rock steady like McCartney, keep it pushing until the last beat drops. In Minnesota, we stay strong, even when the world wants us to stop. Just to get by, we rise up against the odds, never shy.
Just to get by in this cold world, just to get by in this cold world, just to get
Hey, that was me, the Urban Conservative, featuring Abstract Sam. And I really want to give it up to Abstract because she really blew it away, man. And I just love it. You know what I'm saying? I know it's getting a lot of plays on Spotify and Apple Music. And I'm just loving the feedback. You know what I'm saying? It's just great. I know she's got something in the future coming out with Circumstantial Saint and some other things. And damn, it's just a blessing to be a part of something bigger than us, bigger than what we could ever achieve with just teamwork make the dream work. You know what I'm saying? But I want to get into, like I said, exposing the scam, how politicians, pastors, and informants are cashing in while our communities crumble. I'm going to say that again, right? Because how politicians, pastors, and informants are cashing in while our communities crumble. So I'm going to say that once again. So I want to start off with there was a Carrie Levin investigates on New Way. And I watched this and I thought it was really, really, with all these scams and fraudulent, and people, there's loopholes. So they believe in their mind, in their eyes, that it's legal, that it's, but ethically it's not. You know what I'm saying? And we have to find out ways, because people feel like it's not wrong because there's so many people doing it and they think that it's okay. So I want to get into this right here with New Way in Crosshairs Recovery Inc. So please watch this and give it up to Carrie Levin and AJ Legault, I believe his name is. But this was it's 21 minutes long, but we're going to watch the whole thing because it's very informative. Like, they say they want to help the poor, but all it looks like is you help your pockets. Because how are you? I just don't get it, man. And it's like, damn, why aren't people seeing the bigger picture? Is it because, like, and you got to look at a lot of names really fucked up, a lot of people, and be like, you knew, but yet you didn't do anything because you were getting paid to look the other way. And it's crazy because it's not just in Minnesota, it's all over America, where people are saying they're fighting for reparations, police brutality, gun violence. And are they changing anything? No, because first of all, they're a nonprofit, they're a pastor, they work for a church, or a CEO director, right? All this money goes into the community, and the only thing that ever changes is their bank accounts, their zip codes, because them niggas go from 555, 407. Now they're living out in the burbs. They're living out in Coon Rapids. They're living out in that's nothing to do. I know a lot of people aren't going to know, but I don't want to. There's nothing. No, I didn't mean it like. I just know a lot of people out in Coon Rapids. I didn't mean it like to be one direct person, because a nigga says names around here, and I have no issues saying names. So if anybody thinks that it was a dig on Tim Christopher, Reverend Tim Christopher, it was not. But that was just one of the suburbs that I said first, because, you look out in Brooklyn Park, and some of the biggest nonprofit directors, that's where they live. Mother's Love Initiative, 21 Days of Peace, the pastors, these niggas drive up in Benzes, and their constituents ride the bus. Has anybody, let me ask a question, because if anybody is watching, let me ask this, right? Have you ever been to Shiloh Temple's daycare? Have you ever had an experience at Shiloh Temple's daycare? So you already know that if anybody in the comments has any kind of experience with Shiloh Temple, right, in North Minneapolis with their daycare, because I've seen it, I've experienced it, and I've heard other stories. So I want to hear somebody else, because there's elected officials that have had experiences and it's been fucked up, but because you're getting paid, you look the other way.
Thanks for joining us for a Carrie Levin Recovery Inc. investigation. I'm AJ Legault. We uncovered that one of Minnesota's largest and most well-known addiction treatment providers is in a fight for survival. The state and federal government accuse New Way of providing illegal kickbacks to clients. At the same time, our investigation discovered tens of millions of dollars in questionable Medicaid billing at the nonprofit, where executives make exorbitant salaries.
Headquartered in the Twin Cities, New Way started in the 1960s as one of the nation's very first halfway houses. It now has addiction treatment centers across the state, serving roughly 1,100 clients a day.
I was in intensive outpatient treatment.
Rich LaFortune is a former client. While attending treatment at New Way, Rich lived in a sober home paid for by New Way.
If I can't have a place to safely lay my head at night, how am I going to get sober?
So for you, having that shelter, having New Way cover your housing while you were an outpatient was crucial?
Yes. I was otherwise homeless.
But that arrangement, paying for clients' housing while also billing their taxpayer-funded Medicaid insurance for treatment, has New Way's future very much in doubt.
They're looking for something.
This federal raid last summer on a different treatment provider is an example of why. In the wake of a Care 11 investigation into alleged fraudulent Medicaid billing, the FBI raided Evergreen Recovery in St. Paul. One of the charges, illegal kickbacks in the form of providing free housing in exchange for attendance at treatment services.
What message did the Evergreen raid send to the broader recovery community?
Panic. Absolute panic.
David Glazer is New Way's attorney. The panic he describes is because Evergreen and New Way are not the only Minnesota treatment centers that pay for clients' housing. Some ended the practice, but New Way has not stopped.
Is this a hill New Way is going to die on?
Yes, because New Way feels really committed to making sure patients can get housing.
It's not a new dispute. Care 11 discovered New Way was notified back in 2022 that they were under a still ongoing federal civil fraud investigation, suspected of using client housing as kickbacks. The Minnesota Department of Human Services also began raising concerns last February, threatening to cut off New Way's funding, but has repeatedly delayed action. This letter, dated in December, is their latest correspondence. DHS cites credible allegations of fraud, which include improperly induced services through the use of illegal kickbacks. Pending another delay, DHS says it's stopping all Medicaid payments to New Way, effective in a few weeks, February 21st. But there's something unusual about that threat.
The Department of Human Services knew exactly what was going on.
This wasn't a secret and DHS knew about it for years?
No, this definitely wasn't a secret.
That is an undeniable fact.
Safe, supportive housing is crucial to long-term recovery.
New Way made no secret they paid for clients' housing. They call it their RISE model and publicly tout providing resident support. The University of Minnesota studied New Way's RISE model and found improved outcomes. In a 2019 application for the DHS Commissioner Circle of Excellence Award, New Way directly told the DHS Commissioner in writing they offered housing contingent upon weekly treatment compliance.
After knowing about the housing subsidies for years, why is the government taking action now?
That's an excellent question. I can't answer that.
We asked DHS for an interview about the kickback claims. It was declined. In an emailed statement, DHS confirmed there's an ongoing investigation but said they cannot disclose any additional information. So why is there so much concern about housing payments? The federal case against Evergreen Recovery provides some insight.
Right.
They got rich through fraud, kickbacks, overbilling.
Prosecutors from the U.S. Attorney's Office sat down with Care 11 in December to discuss the Evergreen Recovery indictments.
Is there a connection between overbilling and what the DOJ calls this housing kickback scheme?
Absolutely. Kickbacks are presumptively involve fraudulent overbilling. They're an incentive to overbill.
Joe Thompson is the chief of the U.S. Attorney's Fraud and Public Corruption Section. He said he could not comment specifically on any case beyond Evergreen, but offered this general assessment.
A provider that's paying kickbacks is probably overbilling to pay the cost of those kickbacks.
Is overbilling funding New Way's housing payments? Their lawyer says no, but Care 11 has been investigating New Way's billing practices for a year, and what we uncovered has clients responding like this.
Oh, that was happening? Holy shit.
As part of our investigation, we uncovered internal New Way records where employees claimed they were committing tens of millions of dollars worth of billing fraud. That part of the story after the break.
When a system fails to protect you.
There are cases after cases where they've gone off
and murdered somebody.
Care 11 investigates.
Someone has to step up and say, this has got to stop.
Exposing major flaws.
To change a broken system.
And calling for justice.
What was accomplished last night is life-changing for so many families.
Stories that move Minnesota forward. Care 11 investigates. Weeknights at 10.
But his name is Tampon Timmy.
Welcome back. As part of our investigation, we set out to follow the money at New Way, Minnesota's largest addiction treatment provider for Medicaid patients. What we found is tens of millions of dollars in questionable billing and deeply flawed government oversight.
The journey towards recovery leads roughly 8,000 Minnesotans a year to a New Way.
Hold on, I want to show you something, right? Because this is New Ways, they're directors, people. So this is fucking blew my mind, right? How people could obviously make this much fucking money, and then there's like you see all this kickbacks and these schemes, and you're like, damn. So the CEO David Venice, right, he makes last year almost $1 million. Tom Meyer, CAO, CFO, made almost $720,000 last year. Kenneth Roberts, he's the chief clinical officer, over $500,000 last year. Monique Burgess, the chief community relations officer, over $400,000 last year. John Miller, 258. Now it was I'd say almost 3. Angela Hansen, quality, training, compliance. These people get paid to do, what do they do? Because we have all this overbilling. Nobody wants to take accountability because, as you're going to hear, it's like even the DHS director say that it's these people were able to do this because there was loopholes. There was legislators that allowed loopholes. So why aren't we at the Capitol trying to fix this? Instead, we're at a stalemate where either side is showing who got the bigger dick. Well, the Constitution gives the people the bigger dick, so why don't you go to work for them? Y'all be the balls and the people be the dick. Right? And let's stop this bullshit. Because we're honestly looking at this shit as like it's okay because they're telling us is that it's okay because they're allowed to do it. They're writing bills and legislation to be able to scam and fraudulently be able to rub their shoulder and say it's not my fault because I'm not the one doing this, it's somebody else. They're allowing me to do this. So in my eyes, and I'm not saying me, but in let's say Kenneth Roberts or Tom Meyer or David Venice, is that they make so much money. So why would they bite the hand that feeds them? Because as long as they're giving kickbacks, you can't tell me that almost $1 million, right? At least 300, it's about over $900,000 for a recovery company. And the crazy thing of this is that this is all the only reason why he's able to pay his salaries. The only reason why is taxpayer money. What makes David Venice worth almost $1 million to fight recovery in Minnesota? What makes him so much when that's all we see out here? That's all we see is drug abuse. And you have individuals that work for one of the biggest companies in Minnesota, the nonprofits, when it comes to recovery, and you're hearing that it's a scam. They're doing kickbacks. You've seen that the University of Minnesota, and maybe we haven't came to that part yet, but you've seen that you're going to hear, or maybe, I don't know, about the University of Minnesota and how much they were doing, and they were part of that RISE program. So people knew. It's not like it was a secret. It's because people were getting so much money for it. So why would you close it down? There was so much kickbacks. You know, a state legislator put out a tweet last night that it was over almost $180 million. So everything of feeding our future, daycare, autism centers, recovery, violence interrupters have all been scams. All been, that's the one crazy thing, because we all look at each other. Well, I shouldn't say that, but as some people be like, oh, you just got to get rich scheme. How don't these motherfuckers got to get rich scheme? Because here's the thing of it is, they have a piece of paper that makes them indoctrinated. Because I will tell you the truth. That, when people tell me of, oh, well, that's not the case. We're sitting on stolen land. No, it's not. You can consider it stolen, but let's go to the facts that there was a treaty signed, and here's the thing of it is, and like you can tell, even when they sign these treaties, and if we are to believe history and believe, because nobody was alive when this shit went on, we just can read history books. Maybe a lot of us do, and maybe a lot of us don't. But I can tell you this is that before America was ever America, we had treaties in place. So let's go back to them treaties, because y'all can sit here and say, oh, it's stolen land. Stop being so fucking vague. How was it stolen? You're just going to tell me what? A motherfucker took your shit and you ain't doing shit, bitch? Like, are you guys going to sit here in fear? Are people going to sit here in fear? Or are we going to come up out of this? Are we going to rise up out of this? Are we going to face it and run? Forget it and run? Because that's what a lot of America does. They forget it and run. But let's face it and rise. I seen motherfuckers out there at that Target press conference cutting up their Target charge cards. Well, I would hope you would, but all the money you make from taxpayer money, you had over $1 million worth of salaries from taxpayer money yesterday doing telling people to boycott Target, but not giving people another option, telling them to go to Costco because they have diversity, equity, and inclusion. Who does it benefit? And don't say that, I want to see data and statistics. Don't say there's like, well, it benefits Black people. But then if you look at data, it doesn't. It benefits white women. So when does it benefit Black people? Because niggas can barely read. They can barely pass a math test. So it ain't us. Because still today, what's crazy, and I haven't talked about this, I don't think at all. I applied for a job like near me. I wasn't gonna make very much money, but I didn't get hired because I have a felony, right? The whole spitting thing and then on the police, blah blah blah, whatever. But it's like, damn, $13 an hour because they offered a deal, so I took it. I was looking at prison time, but then yet if I took the deal, then I wasn't going to prison. So should I have just not signed the deal and went to prison? Could potentially had gone to prison? Because I know this is that none of these motherfuckers out here that are doing child porn, child pornography, trafficking. I'm not out here selling no pills. But because they went with a narrative that I spit at them and that it affected him somehow, but yet they don't do nothing about all the fentanyl that's affecting our streets every day. They don't do anything about the sexual predators that are in our neighborhoods, because they only point out what people want them to point out, not what really matters, because everybody is comfortable talking about P. Diddy, but people aren't comfortable in their communities talking about a Cortez Rice or a Frank Nitti or a Tony Clark. You're not comfortable talking about your community rapist. Let's talk about it. People aren't comfortable talking about niggas that they have to live in the community with, because there's a lot of people that are afraid. And that's crazy. You see it even in Rochester. You see it. St. Cloud. You see it. Duluth. You see it. It's not just Minneapolis and St. Paul. This shit was bigger than Nino Brown. Just like this shit was bigger than Tim Walz. This shit, it was bigger than Jody Harpstead. It was a system that was allowing these motherfuckers to do it, and for people to look the other way because they were being paid by it. They were being fed. And that's crazy. But yet there was people that would stand up to it because it was wrong. It was wrong. It was wrong. So where did Black Lives Matter? Where do Black women matter? That's what I've always, because we sit here and get in an uproar over lies, and we don't get any uproar over the truth.
Addiction Treatment Center door.
I received wonderful care there.
But what Kara Levin's investigation found going on behind the doors of the nonprofit has otherwise grateful clients like Rich LaFortune questioning how taxpayer-funded Medicaid was billed in their name.
Oh, that was happening? Holy shit.
Rich says at New Way, he went to outpatient group treatment in back-to-back meetings from 8 a.m. to noon.
How many hours is that?
8 to noon, that's 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 4.
His records confirm he received 4 hours of treatment, but his billing documents reveal New Way charged Medicaid for 5 hours.
That's odd. That's not correct math.
I'll be blunt.
Yeah.
Billing for 5 hours for 4 hours of work sounds an awful lot like fraud.
But they're not billing 5 hours for 4 hours work. What they're doing is billing in a way that's consistent with the instruction that DHS gave.
David Glazer is New Way's attorney. He argues the Minnesota Department of Human Services gave treatment providers unclear billing instructions and New Way broke no rules.
The government's instruction was once you cross the midpoint of a unit, you can bill a unit.
This gets complicated. Here's what we found happening.
Treatment sessions are billed to Medicaid by the hour. The rules state that in order to bill for that hour, the session must go past the midpoint. New Way exploited that midpoint rule, scheduling their treatment sessions in 35-minute blocks. So for 35 minutes of treatment, taxpayers were charged for a full hour. But then, records show New Way also double billed. Here's how. From 8 to 8:35, they'd bill for an hour. Then at 8:45, they'd start billing for another hour, double billing for the overlapping 15 minutes. That means every 4 hours of treatment, they billed for 5 hours, inflating their billing by 20%.
Kara Levin's investigation uncovered internal records that reveal top New Way employees were concerned that what they were doing equated to tens of millions of dollars in fraud.
This email is dated August 11th, 2022. It's from Morgan Kluwender, New Way's Revenue Cycle Director, addressed to CFO John Marston. It says, knowing that we continue to send duplicative claims out daily, I would advise that we stop sending claims, citing the Center for Medicare and Medicaid Services definition of fraud, waste, and abuse. The email then details the double billing process and estimates in less than 3 years, they'd overbilled by $58 million. 2 weeks later, New Way's CFO Marston sends out this email that indicates they received legal guidance from the law firm Swanson Hatch, run by 2 former Minnesota attorneys general, that the practice of always billing just over the minimum required time is problematic, and they should align programming with the number of hours/units being billed. Both Kluwender and Marston declined Kara Levin's interview requests, but their LinkedIn profiles show both left New Way within weeks of those emails being sent. New Way's current attorney would not comment on past legal advice. Meanwhile, client records and state billing data show New Way ignored those internal fraud concerns and continued to charge Medicaid millions of dollars for more hours of treatment than they actually gave clients.
That is a huge red flag.
Doug Kelly is the former federal prosecutor in charge of the DOJ's white-collar crime section in Minnesota. He says federal investigators should be looking hard at New Way's billing, but DHS, which oversees Medicaid, has some major explaining to do.
Who is asleep at the switch to allow this to go on for so long and for so many millions of dollars?
That's a question Kara Levin has been asking for more than a year. Our Recovery Inc. investigations exposed how DHS approved tens of millions of dollars in questionable Medicaid payments to other addiction treatment providers without adequate oversight. After our reports, The FBI launched ongoing criminal investigations of Refocus Recovery and its for-profit partner Kairos, and the owner of Evergreen Recovery is now facing federal fraud charges.
It's simply unacceptable. It's maddening.
Governor Walz recently announced a new investigative unit to crack down on fraud in state-run programs. And shortly thereafter, that DHS Commissioner Jody Harpstead is stepping down, effective next week. For months, Harpstead declined KARE 11's interview requests, but sent a statement about New Way's billing that says in part, it's indefensible when providers use loopholes in state law to circumvent the rules.
DHS is often very obtuse and then accuses people of wrongdoing for that inability to read their minds.
New Way's attorney says for the past year, DHS has accused them of fraud, in part for billing for services not provided as billed. But the agency didn't add clarifying language to their midpoint billing rules until September, and New Way immediately complied. The rules now read, billable treatment units should not cover a previously billed time, and scheduling units less than 1 hour deprives the client of the benefit of the full unit of service.
I feel like I've been taken advantage of.
For clients and taxpayers, what was going on behind closed doors, now out in the open.
Wow.
After the break, our investigation continues as we expose how New Way's questionable billing made the nonprofit's executives rich, and what we found is already leading to bipartisan calls for reform. We'll be right back.
Everything KARE 11 lives on KARE 11 Plus.
I don't know if it's going to make me go to a commercial or not, but I'm going to stop. I'm going to sit here and talk to you guys for a minute. But damn, that's crazy of how, like, you know, we have to pay taxes every year, but yet we see all this crap, this shit. This shit go on, and it's like people call it out and get told, you know, oh, you're a conspiracy theorist, you're crazy, and this ain't really going on. And then when it comes to light, you know, people still get looked at it as crazy. And it's like, damn, are you guys that afraid to say something? Because it's been already exposed. So people can make all the subliminal posts they want and talk about all these subliminal ass problems they have. But why don't you face the music? Why don't you be accountable for the wrongs that you have done? I don't get that. What is so wrong with the truth? When did the truth start to become the problem and not a lie? Because we're out here fighting for lies more than we fight for the truth. More than we fight for the truth. And I will never understand that. I will never understand that. Why we fight harder for a lie than we fight harder for the truth.
Thank you for bringing this to us.
Thanks, AJ, for this.
This is a big deal.
At a time our state legislature can't seem to agree on anything, KARE 11's investigation exposing tens of millions of dollars in questionable Medicaid billing is leading to bipartisan calls for reform.
At the Minnesota State Capitol, New Way flags fly high. It's September, National Recovery Month, and the nonprofit addiction treatment provider is the leading sponsor of the Walk for Recovery.
And I am here today celebrating the 13th annual Walk for Recovery presented by New Way Alliance.
But like the season, at the Capitol, New Way's reception is now decidedly chillier.
Need to have their chain jerked pretty hard.
On this, GOP State Representative Dave Baker and DFL State Senator John Hoffman are in bipartisan agreement.
To see this is really heartbreaking.
They say what KARE 11 uncovered, tens of millions of dollars in Medicaid billing, done in a way that even some New Way insiders feared qualified as fraud, reveals the nonprofit, long considered a leader in the state's effort to treat addiction, broke a trust.
This is out of control, and we need to do a whole relook at the whole system, I think.
Here's what KARE 11 found happening. Treatment sessions are billed to Medicaid by the hour. The rules state that in order to bill for that hour, the session must go past the midpoint. New Way exploited that midpoint rule, scheduling their treatment sessions in 35-minute blocks. So for 35 minutes of treatment, taxpayers were charged for a full hour.
Damn.
But then, records show New Way also double billed. Here's how. From 8 to 8:35, they'd bill for an hour. Then at 8:45, they'd start billing for another hour. Double billing for the overlapping 15 minutes. That means every 4 hours of treatment, they billed for 5 hours, inflating their billing by 20%.
A unit is an hour. A unit is an hour. Yep. It's not 31 minutes consistently.
We're not talking about pocket change. Medicaid data reveals for just group addiction treatment from 2018 to partway through 2024, New Way billed more than $180 million.
Are taxpayers owed a refund based on what you've seen?
Yeah. Absolutely.
They're not billing improperly.
David Glazer is New Way's attorney.
He
maintains
paid.
the Department of Human Services midpoint billing rules were vague, and his client did not bill illegally.
The instruction from DHS supports what New Way was doing.
What's clear is what New Way was doing was making the nonprofit's leaders rich. Hang outside the corporate headquarters, and you'll see C-suite executives in a parade of luxury cars that insiders say are leased by New Way. The nonprofit's tax records from 2023, the latest year available, reveal Chief Clinical Officer Ken Roberts paid more than $500,000. COO Tom Meyer paid $723,000. Most eye-popping, CEO David Venice's salary, more than $900,000 a year.
Holy smokes. They're making that kind of money as top-level leaders in this operation, and we're seeing this going on here.
Citing credible allegations of fraud, DHS is threatening to begin withholding all payments to New Way effective February 21st. New Way, which has refused to make its executives available for interviews with KARE 11, recently released a slickly edited video warning of dire outcomes for all their clients if they're shut down.
So if Minneapolis wants to add people to their homeless situation, closing New Way would be a good way to do it.
Outgoing DHS Commissioner Jody Harpstead sent KARE 11 a statement that says in part, it's indefensible when providers use loopholes in state law to circumvent the rules while using the people we are trying to help as a shield to avoid punishment. Lawmakers told us they don't necessarily want to see New Way shut down, but they owe taxpayers a massive refund. And now the organization faces its very own long walk for recovery.
They lost their way in this case.
A number of reforms are being introduced at the Capitol to explicitly crack down on exactly what New Way was doing. The big question is, what's next for New Way? Citing credible allegations of fraud, which include the alleged kickbacks and billing problems, DHS is threatening to begin withholding all Medicaid payments to New Way effective February 21st. That would effectively shut down the state's largest addiction treatment provider for low-income people. Clearly, there's a lot at risk here for some of our state's most vulnerable. With a KARE 11 Recovery Inc. investigation, I'm AJ Legault.
Wow. 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 There's so much that's the whole crazy part is, you know, people think that it's just one big scandal or one politician, but it's about a system that profits from keeping our communities down. Think about it. Who benefits from crime? Who benefits from the poverty in our neighborhoods, in our communities? Why do we have, here's what I want people to think about, right? Why, when you go over North Minneapolis, right, you go up down to Lindale and Broadway, there's a liquor store. Who owns it? We Push for Peace. They profit off of this shit. A church bought a gas station that sells chicken. A church's chicken, some kind of Crunches chicken in there. So you're feeding people bullshit, not only mentally, but physically as well. That's the whole thing of it is of like, why don't we call it what it is? Because They exploited systems that were supposed to benefit us. They were supposed to benefit the people you say you wanted to help, but all it did was fatten pockets. That's all it did. It fattened pockets. And it was a scheme. It turned into a pyramid scheme. These people got hundreds of thousands of dollars salaries to see our community suffer and to make sure that people like Chaz Neal, Marcus X. Smith, Reverend Tim Christopher, Brian Warfield, Angela Williams, there's so many other truth seekers in Minneapolis that they wanted to quiet. Even like Alpha News. There's a lot of things that I believe that benefits us, but then there's a lot of things that they won't touch. It's the same thing that comes with Unicorn Riot. It's the same thing that comes with Georgia Ford. That, that's the one. Nobody wanted to touch these cases when nobody was talking about them. But now that they're out there with lawsuits and now people want to talk about it. Why? It wasn't a mystery. It wasn't a secret. Y'all made it a secret. You wanted to do closed door meetings talking about this shit. And then when people put up, 990 forms and what pastors are making from their churches, and you'd be like, wait, why does your community look so bad, but you're pulling up in a Porsche or a Cadillac SUV or Benz truck, and your community is suffering? Your congregation mostly takes the bus. That's not working for God. You're leading people to false prophets. And I'm not talking about the prophets that we pray to. I'm talking about prophets that it's a money signal. It's a money sign. Because that's who their God is. Their God isn't Yusha. It isn't the man upstairs. It isn't higher power. Their power is something they can put in their pocket. It's a dollar bill, y'all. Don't people see that? There is no loyalty out in these streets. I can tell you that right now. There's no loyalty out here. There's no love. These niggas don't love you. Prophets, right? Thank you, Robert. Thank you. Because what is it? Is it prophets or prophets? Because y'all niggas act like there's not a difference right now. When there is. You're praying to a false prophet. Which prophet are you praying to? I ask people that all the time. They say they're praying to prophets. Who? Because here's the thing of it is, people always use this of like, God wanted us to be taken care of and blah, 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 and all this tithing. And like, wait, God didn't tell us, nigga, you needed a Benz or a Tesla or $100,000 salary off of faith-based initiatives. Everybody talks about the FBI. Let's talk about the FBIs that are in every fucking community. Everywhere there's a church. Everywhere is a faith-based initiative. There's supposed to be a difference between state and religion of governance. But now they intersect, they're together. You can't tell the difference. You can't tell the difference. Because they're trying, they've already made it where, I'm not going to say they're trying, they've already made it where religion is already inside of state governance, inside of the Constitution. That's why I believe, in my eyes, we need to start, we need to burn it. I'm not going to say burn it down, but we need to build all over again, because that foundation is cracked and we see it. That's the one crazy thing. If everything that is going on right now with the 14th Amendment of where was it for black slaves and their descendants, or was it for illegal immigration? What was it for? Birthright citizenship. What was it for? We don't know the intent because none of us were alive. When this shit was argued, people can interpret context all fucking day. And it, to me, honestly, it goes by if you're a Republican or a Democrat. Or if you're, I can't even say the Green Party anymore because most of those niggas are rejects from the Democratic Party. Right? Who's heard Jill Stein do anything recently? Nothing. I haven't heard from Kamala since she got her ass whooped. I haven't. Now these niggas want to come up and do something about Target because DEI. Where were y'all when Target was arresting thousands of innocent black men and women and children? Y'all didn't want to boycott Target then? Y'all made it seem like that it's okay because they were getting paid. Like we don't have a Minnesota 100 district or whatever it's called. And that's because of Target. Y'all not ready for these conversations. And I say this all the time, man. I'm somebody that has to deal with this in their own family. And that they get mad at me for talking about this shit. You know, I barely talk. The only people I really talk to in my family is my mom and dad. Otherwise, they don't talk to me because niggas don't want to face the truth. I get into my mom, and I love her to death. I love my mom to death, but they just stay out of this shit. Me and my mom be battling. Because you can't sit here and say that you're against this shit, but then yet when it comes time to talk about it, you quiet down. You're like a church mouse. You know what I'm saying? It's like, even with the people out there talking about free red. Well, you can free him as soon as we lock up the child molester, the motherfucker around here fucking little girls that you got a baby with. My own fucking blood. My sister. Gerald Morocco Thompson Jr. A nigga that snitched on my brother was a confidential informant. And has this the whole crazy thing of it is, man. I will never understand it, right? It's because we love bullshit. We love it. But when it comes to the truth, we don't like it. We don't like it. And a lot of people don't want to talk about these situations because what did we learn growing up? What happens in the house stays in the house. No, you got to start calling out wrongs. And then the whole thing of it is snitches get stitches. Well, if somebody would have did the right thing and told, I'm not even going to talk about this be telling because it's not telling. If you see something wrong, say something. And you know what? And there's I think a lot of people, even myself, right, can take that into a lot of ways. But we all know the difference between right and wrong. So why don't we do anything about it? Instead, because we're getting paid by it to look the other way. And that's what a lot of individuals do. Because they're getting paid, they want to get involved. Just like with the whole, nigga, y'all too late. Everybody want to do shit, especially in Rochester. Now, because they're having a lot of overdoses, you want to try to prevent it? Come on, man. Like, I don't even understand this. Motherfuckers been talking about they've been cutting it with this other bullshit. It's called Exeline. And now Rochester want to start promoting it. Get the fuck out of here, Charles Jackson. Go deal with your wife who was protecting a sex offender who was fucking a 4-year-old. That's what I don't understand, man. It's like people, they think that because you do one thing good. No, that's not good. Nigga, you can't cover up the good unless you've been accountable for it. You've been accountable to the people. Because it's no matter how much good you do in America, right? As long as you got that skeleton that you fucked over people and it's nobody really knows. Nah, man. Because Bill Cosby had to pay. R. Kelly. Look at Diddy ass right now. Somebody said there was a clip going around, and I don't know because of AI, but it's between Christopher Combs and Sean Combs, the son. And it's like, damn, they were talking like that. There was a lot of code, You know what I mean? But it was like, damn, really? If that was them talking like that over a phone, that nigga really don't care because he's got so much money that he believes that money will buy anything. Instead, that people will not sit here and tell the truth. That they're not good. That's the whole reason why Trump is in office. It's because of a lot of individuals are getting tired. They were getting tired. They were getting tired of seeing the same old shit. But then yet nothing ever changed. So I want to get into this press conference a little bit, what happened yesterday, right? So you see Black Lives Matter speaks out against Target DEI program rollback. So let's get into that, and I'll be right back right after this.
Activists are speaking out against Target for rolling back its DEI initiatives.
They're calling for a boycott of the popular Minnesota retail chain. Meanwhile, some black business owners say if people boycott, they will be the unintended victims. Our Jason Rantola has the story.
A brass band and the clipping of Target credit cards.
Got it.
Marked the spectacle just outside the company's downtown Minneapolis world headquarters. Social justice advocates want employees to speak up and shoppers to shop elsewhere.
This decision was not made independently by Target, but it was made as a result of the pressure that is coming from the White House.
This all comes after Target announced last week that they're scaling back DEI initiatives. That includes ending promotion of black-owned businesses following the murder of George Floyd, and also ending the focus on hiring and promotion of more women and minority groups. The fact Target actually stepped up DEI efforts after George Floyd's murder is making the company's decision that much more unbelievable for people like Jaylani Hussein.
If you would have told me in those summers and the months and to come that we would be here today talking about Target reversing its decision, I would personally say I couldn't believe that.
On the other side of the boycott,
I'm not the only one affected by this.
Are black business owners like Tabitha Brown, who've had their products highlighted in Target stores under the company's previous DEI initiatives. Brown, who sells kitchenware at the store, says she understands the anger, but is pleading with potential boycotters to reconsider.
If we all decide to boycott and be like, no, we're not spending no money at these organizations, but so many of us will be affected and our sales will drop, our business will be hurt.
In Minneapolis, Jason Rantola, WCCO News.
You can catch an extended look at their remarks coming up.
It really makes you wonder if that's what their intention was for, because they don't ever want to talk about why Target, the whole DEI thing was because of the fact of what happened to George Floyd, right? And I want to talk about something is that if we don't talk about the past or the history, how are we supposed to know where we're going in the future, right? Where we're headed. And I want to take us back to something deep, right? Because JFK once said that Hitler will emerge from the hatred that surrounds him now as one of the most significant figures who ever lived. What's happening? We're turning these people into, like I said, false prophets. You know, what do we see? Maybe you didn't see, but Elon Musk is thinking about suing Tim Walz for calling him that he was a Nazi. We have uplifted a man that was supposedly led a genocide of Jewish people in Germany into something that was way bigger that maybe, you know, why don't we uplift? I don't understand that. You know what I'm saying? We don't ever want to uplift and tell people the truth. You know, that's the one crazy thing, right? And I will never understand it, is like, why do we as individuals want to do that, right? But now that's a heavy statement, and people interpret it in different ways. But here's what it means to us. History repeats itself. When people get desperate, when the system fails them, when they feel like no one is listening, that's when dangerous leaders rise. That's when power shifts. And if we don't wake up and start fighting back against corruption, we might find ourselves living in the reality we never seen that was coming. And then honestly, I believe that's where we're headed. It's because so many people, you just heard that. You know, my mom she loves Tabitha Brown. I do too. You know what I'm saying? She's got really great seasonings. You know, we waited for a while. I was going to Walmart to check to see if the Tabitha Brown seasonings were here. You know what I'm saying? I've gone, you know, here Target in Rochester had a section, and maybe I don't know that they probably will now, but you know, Black History Month starting tomorrow, will they have a section for their Black creators, you know, that are selling the products like Tabitha Brown, because Tabitha is just more than, you know, seasoning. She's a bunch of things. You know, Oprah was in there. There's other things, you know, like paintings or clothes, you know, that they gave them a space. And I will be supporting. You know, that's one thing that really brought me into all of this, is that Target, especially with their history and their past, we're uplifting by a boycott. Come on, man, we should have been doing it if we was going to boycott. Why didn't we boycott when they did all that legislation they were making loopholes to protect them? But to oppress the poor, the Black people, the brown people that didn't know any better. That's why I say, you know, people get mad at me when I talk about white supremacy. Well, you got to understand what I'm talking about. Even with critical race theory, you can say that it's a college course all day. I'm not talking about a college course. I'm not. I don't know how many times I got to clarify what the fuck I'm talking about. When I talk about, because these white people have named it something, doesn't mean we have to go by that shit. Be a thinker, not a worker. That's because I get, well, what do you mean by that? What do you mean by this white supremacy and school pipeline? And look at the policies, my nigga. When have Black people ever been a part, or poor people ever been a part of making their communities better? I'm gonna wait, because it's always been the status quo. It's always been the stakeholders. It's never been people that rent, right? They use the ones that they helped. You know, that's the one crazy thing. I look at Bobby Champion or Cedric Frazier. Who have y'all helped? You can say a Shamika Boygan or Shanda Baker, but then I'm gonna pull up what they make on their neighborhood associations. So nigga, don't tell me that you're helping people, because all you've helped is them change their bank accounts. You haven't helped us to make our communities better. You've helped niggas change their bank accounts. The same thing with Mickey Frost. You can't say you're helping people because you did a little history museum, or okay, we pay for that building, my nigga. That's not you're not a self-made nigga. You like handouts. You know, that's the whole problem with capitalism. It's one of the biggest problems with capitalism, because we want to fight it. But how do you fight something that makes America tick? It makes it work. Because that capitalism, how it is, we're designed to fuck over somebody. It's a dog eat dog world. And if you don't know any better, you're gonna get fucked over. You're gonna get fucked over. As we can see, that's the whole crazy part of it is because there's a lot of individuals, and I say it's generational. You know, when we came to America, you know, as in chattel slavery, we came as slaves. It was illegal for us to read and write in English, in American English. We couldn't. It was, you know what I'm saying? We had to do it secretly. We had to do it privately. You know, it's the whole thing with some of the greatest foods and that Black people love. But is it really good for us? We've made delicacies out of scraps, like chitlins. That was shit they used to throw away. Same thing with pig's feet, pigs, you know, snot noses. We turn that whole shit into delicacy. And then we get mad over here talking about they're eating the cats and the dogs. Nigga, y'all have allowed people to do this for years. For years. And nobody wanted to call it out. Because we all had that classism in us. There was well, he's just a house nigga, so he's okay. He's okay. Right. Very good point, Marie. Very good point. And thank you for that. That's a very good point. It's because who runs it? It's by the government and big business. So if you're not a part of that, like I said, who controls most of the wealth? There's 1% of the population controls most of the wealth in Minnesota. And that's 1% of Minnesota. The richest part of Minnesota controls most of Minnesota. That should tell us something. They don't care about us. That's the whole thing of it is. You got one of the biggest nonprofits for recovery in Minnesota, and they have overbilled that DHS has pointed out over $180 million. Over $180 million. That's money that could be better in our communities. But yet he was worried about a $900,000 salary so that he's got a lifestyle to keep up. Just like what they're, I didn't even know, damn, that's crazy. I'm gonna have to go through their 990 form because there is, just like I said it with L. Sharpton, you know, there's residency, there's vehicles, transportation, there's so many ways, and it's all from taxpayer government money. So they don't want it taken away. Why do you think that's the one crazy thing? Because I remember when Dante Wright happened, right? We were on Brooklyn Center, and the city council hired a group, a bunch of violence interrupters, and he was paying them. I didn't know this at the time, but they had a contract with the city to pay people to watch. To watch us like they were babysitters, $50 an hour. Some of them are getting paid $80 to sit there and watch. Well, I'll call it. I was a protester. You know what I'm saying? I'll call it what it was. It was a protester. Right. Right. Oh yeah, I agree with you. That here's what I want people to know, right? I'm not a Democrat. I'm not a Republican. I don't have no political affiliation. I call myself a conservative because I have those values. That's what my integrity I believe in. I always did it. I was a piece of shit. And that's why it's so hard for me, is because I'm not the same person I was 8 years ago. I'm not the person I was 9 years ago. And that's what hurts me today, is like, I have to look in the mirror and I realize that there's a lot of things, even with my youngest, you know, there was things that I did that I hated today. But I don't hate my kids. I love them. I love Chaz. I'm gonna call him by his name. I went to court. He got his name changed because it's Chaz Neal Scholes. It's not Chaz Lawrence Neal Jr. anymore, and I'm okay with that. But I wanted to know why. You know what I'm saying? It's like, why? But and it's, yeah, they don't care about us at all. If you're not a stakeholder, a business owner, you know what I'm saying? I seen something, I think the other day, it was in Red Wing when they had this BSU meeting in Red Wing, and it was Minneapolis, Anoka. There's a lot of black student unions. And then I seen one of the people that provided food for that was Hanish Donuts. And I'm like, wait, so when this nigga's over here talking about George Floyd all kind of way, when he's over here downplaying what he was doing in the community when it was okay for, they didn't understand treaties, and there was one out there where it was like not the face and value of property, or, you know, things like that, and they did it anyways. That's why Red Wing got rid of their dog park, is because it was on a Native American cemetery that the city didn't want to sit there and do their homework on. But I don't have people don't want to know the real reason of why the dog park was closed in Red Wing, because it was on a Native American cemetery. If you looked at the historical records, right, you would see, especially land records, you would see that that dog park was on something historical that was to people that were before us. But because a lot of individuals, we have so many people that are transplants that sit in, you know, city council or county, whatever, a lot of them didn't know. They didn't care about looking at historical records. Just the same thing with some of the first black-owned businesses in Red Wing, in the state. It was in Red Wing, Minnesota. You had Eli Fields, and you had Jeremiah Patterson. Patterson family did a lot in Red Wing. Are they known? No, because they talk about the Captain Cole Colville, who was a piece of shit. And it's known, but nobody does their research. They don't look up the parts of Corporal Chief, whatever the fuck you want to call him, Colville, You know, to me, it's like, no, if you're going to talk about dude, talk about it all. How he was a piece of shit. And he was a Democrat. He wasn't how we're led to believe as a Republican. No, he was a Democrat. There was Northern Democrats and there were Southern Democrats. He didn't believe in slavery. Oh, wait, he believed in slavery. He believed in, you should see the things that this man made articles of, especially in the Chicago paper. William Colville, look him up, Google him. The Republican, and especially the Republican Eagle, and how they started as a paper, and who was the other paper that used to combat them. Because you're going to find two very big names, Hubbard. You're going to find a name called Hubbard. And you're going to be like, wait, why do I know that? Because that was something that was, he started a newspaper that was against William Colville to tell people the truth. So when there was a lynching in Red Wing, Minnesota, about the railroad tracks, when they did a strike, and they wanted to show, like, if you break this line, this is what we will do to you. So they did it to a black man, and they hung him up on the railroad tracks down by the Mississippi River. Well, that's not something that city talks about, because we're comfortable talking about something that's in national news, like the 3 that were lynched in Duluth. So a lot of people don't know about what happened. There's no records. There's historical records, but there's not census records. So you can't match it up. You have to go back, and that person was here when they did the last census in 1885. But then when they do the newest one, no, even with the teacher, she was, if you looked at it, the records are missing. So the teacher that was in Red Wing, who was the first black teacher in Red Wing, they have no record. But if you look at historical records, she's there. And in my eyes, people weren't moving like that. Not when you were in a town and you're already fluent. You're fluent, you know, and because you're not propped up, and we prop up people like Craig Morris and you know, house niggas, you know what I'm saying? And we think that's black excellence, or we think that's black greatness. And it's not. It's that you know how to get over on niggas. You like to talk bad about, you know, the same shit that you do when it came, even with like Jerry McAfee and them. You say you praise God. How? When the only thing that you praise is money. Because you don't care about the community. It's nothing about that. That's why you when you go do vigils for babies that were killed in the community, you wear Never Broke Again shirts again. Has anybody asked Jerry McAfee why he wears Never Broke Again shirts again? Because this is my belief, and he's blocked me. So and I've asked him this, right? Why do you wear Never Broke Again shirts when you go to vigils when babies die? You know, when the kids get killed. And the way that I see it is that we kill each other so much is that you'll never be broke, my nigga. That's the reason in my eyes why you wear Never Broke Again shirts again when you go to these vigils. And I hope people call this nigga out on it. Ask him, why are you wearing NBA shirts? And what does that mean? Never broke again. We don't want to, it's right there for us to look at it. And we prefer not to look at it because it's uncomfortable. It's a conversation that we feel that we've been told that it's uncomfortable for us to have. Because what happens behind closed doors is supposed to stay behind closed doors. Just like what happens in Vegas stays in Vegas. Well, no, that's not the way that it works. No. Like I said, I will debate any of these niggas. Anybody. Doesn't matter who they are. And honestly, I can't wait for Black History Month is tomorrow. And I got poems about, I got a whole hit list, my nigga. I got a whole hit list of names. I got a whole list of people that have fucked the community over, and we don't want to do shit about it because people look the other way. They look the other way, and it's sad. It's fucking sad. It's sad, and it's, you know, it's like what do people love more? Justice, and accountability? Or do you love changing your life because you can change your bank account? Is that what this is about? you know, that's the one crazy part for me is like, is this what this is about? Is, well, I can change my bank account and you can, you know, do that. Well, no, that's not what it's supposed to be about. You're not supposed to, just because you change your bank account, that it's okay. So I wrote something that I'm going to start is, you know, we all know that's Black History Month. And I wrote this revelation. It's going to be a poem a day. This February, I will release a poem each day. There are going to be stories of fraud, deception, and betrayal at play. Some hid behind pulpits, preaching what's right, while living in shadows concealed from the light. Others took bribes, turned a blind eye, selling out the people while feeding a lie. Scams and corruptions, their names go untold. But the truth has a way of breaking the mold. These are just some, though many remain. Their actions have burdened the community in pain. And I got this thought. The names are, and there's more names, but I just want these, and I'm going to tag this. Some of them have them Black. I will figure out a way to tag each person, right? I will make sure that they're known. But the names that I have so far, and I have poems for, are Lisa Clemens, Jerry McAfee, L. Flowers Sr. and Jr., Sharif Willis, Nakima Marquise Armstrong, Brian Herron, Traherne Cruz, Cortez Rice, Frank Nitti, Terry Willis, Ben Crump, Jeff Storms, Andre Crockett, William Whitehorn, Charles Jackson, Brandon Tillock, Zach Metzger, Latricia Vital, Jeremiah Ellison, Tim Walls, Bobby Champion, Cedric Frazier, Council of Minnesota's of African Heritage, CMAH, Shiloh Temple, A.K. Kamara, Walter Hudson, R.T. Ryback, Jacob Frey, Michael Smith, Todd Gramitz, Tony Clark, Chantel Allen, Demetrius Pendleton, Unicorn Riot, Georgia Fort, Sahan Journal, Rod Edwards. This is Ron Edwards. I don't know why it says Rod, but that's Ron and Jewel. And their roles will be revealed. Their stories laid bare. All truth long ignored. But now we're going to put this pack in the air. Stay tuned. Because I mean it. And I don't care if people believe it. I don't care what kind of threats, because I've already received. You niggas don't scare me. That's one thing. My heart don't pump no fucking Kool-Aid. Yeah. You've already done everything that I don't give a fuck about no prison. Only way you're going to shut me up is by fucking killing me. So, and if you're not man enough to do that, shut the fuck up, because God gave me a mouth and 2 lips. And if I'm wrong, correct me. Because you're an educated Negro. You're the miseducated Negro, and I'm uneducated. So please tell me so we can both become educated. Because all of how you see it, how you interpret it, you're going to believe that it's right. Even though in an ethical way, it's wrong. So we've got to that point where right is seen as wrong and wrong is seen as right. So basically it's like reversal. Y'all out here raping the community, talking about, they're saying yes while we're really saying no. So you're gonna with no Vaseline, like shout out Ice Cube. But that's what it is. That's what it is. Because you don't block niggas. That's the whole crazy part I don't get, right? They call it, well, I blocked you because I wanted to protect my peace. And he was disrespectful. How was a motherfucker disrespectful when they point out something? Because you worried about a nigga's delivery? A motherfucker's delivery instead of the truth of what you're doing. Because you point out, well, he's hard to deal with. He's hard to deal with. We no. That's excuses. Because you don't have no answer. You have none. So that's why they get mad and all frustrated. Oh man, that ain't nah. What you mean, bro? Come on, man. Come on, dude. No. That's not no. And it's sad. It's it's sad because we have to live in this, and then we have leaders and people that think that will tell us that we're crazy. They will tell us anything and everything, but that is the truth. Right? They'll call us liars. They'll call us niggers. They'll call us a bitch. They'll call us hoes. But what they won't call us is truth tellers. They won't say, hey, you're telling the truth, man. You're telling the truth. You're telling the truth. You know, and that's because here's one thing that I wanted to point out. There's a pastor in North Minneapolis. Right, this was filed in March 25th, 2024. And look at his salary. Why do you think he wears Never Broke Again shirts again? Because your pain and trauma is big money to them. It's big money to them. He brought in expenses were $489,000. His net income didn't match. So, and people know, but they're okay with it because there's that loophole. As long as we think that it's okay, we'll say that it's okay, even though we know that it's wrong. The same thing, you know, like I said, the biggest people yesterday. So all three of these people were talking in front of Target yesterday. You had somebody that was over compensated. That's what I call it, compensation, right? Was over $210,000. You had another one that was $142,000. And then you had one that was $133,000. Add that up. That's almost $1 million of talking right there. 500,000. 500,000. Come on, man. What? This was what's crazy. We turned this whole fucking thing, and even the other one, he gets 107,000. Jelani. You had people up there, not people that were that I didn't even see. They didn't use Traherne Cruz. I didn't see, maybe he talked or whatever, but I didn't see him on the news or anything like that. And it's like, damn. So he's at least he's got a story. You know what I'm saying? This nigga was on video smoking crack with a glass dick in his mouth. You know what I'm saying? But yet we put the people up with the dick in their asses up to make it seem like, oh yeah, we're doing good. We're doing all right. No, they made a whole big show. These motherfuckers cut up a Target charge card. Nigga, we don't even have Target charge cards. The fuck you mean? Niggas don't, this one thing. Most niggas that come from the ghetto, the hood, whatever y'all want to call it, what it is, we had credit before we were even allowed to have credit. We weren't adults. We weren't adults. It's because our parents didn't know any fucking better. They didn't know any better, right? And this was big. I really felt this was big, right? It's because it was 180 million, right? And fraud. New Way is the new feeding our future fraud. We will hear from ex-DHS leader, New Way staff, Amy Duello. Oh, will we? Rumor says Jody is leaving as there's so much more fraud coming. Yes, there's going to be there's so much more coming. And we just think that's the thing. These people, they ain't even got to the icing on the cake. And maybe the Republicans doing this whole fraud oversight committee thing, it probably is something to a smoke screen or whatever. But we, the people, can't make it a smoke screen because this is our money. This is taxpayer money. We have to make sure that they are doing the right thing. Not that they're doing it for political agenda, that they're doing it for a people agenda. Because what happened the week before was supposed to happen a week before Martin got killed. The Poor People's Campaign. It's supposed to be about economic justice. We got that civil rights, but we don't have that economic justice. Because you have to be right in all ways. You can't just be right, fix part of the problem. You have to fix the whole thing. So it starts with, okay, we got this civil rights. Let's get to that economic justice because we have a wealth disparity. So while you guys are over here fighting for the right to be let's say, transgender, you have people out here fighting for generations of generations of injustice, not something that just they allowed in 2021, but something that happened in 1948 or 1882. You know what I'm saying? It's like we have history here. So let's not use the things that we're not, maybe some know and maybe don't know about. That doesn't mean that we're dumb. That doesn't mean that people are hateful. It just means that they're uninformed. And I try to have patience. That's the one thing. Call me out. If I am wrong about something, if you don't like the way that I talk, please correct me. But that doesn't mean that I'm going to change the way that I talk. It means that I'm going to have a little bit more compassion when I do say these things, because you see yourself that way and you're an adult. That doesn't mean that I want a 9-year-old or an 8-year-old or a 7-year-old even knowing about that shit. They're there in school not to know about, well, you got a pee-pee and we're going to turn that into a vagina. What the fuck you mean? He's there to learn A's and B's and C's in the 1, 2, 3s. Not about no motherfucking what other gender. Children shouldn't even be thinking about that shit. They shouldn't. They shouldn't be nowhere near. Children should be thinking about that. And again, I believe in that. You should be what you want to be. That I definitely believe in that. But that doesn't mean that you can sit here and put it on our kids. That you can put it on and make it where you're giving a child more rights, but yet when it comes to the parent, you make it harder. I don't understand that. It's like, why do you make it harder for the parent to have no consent, to have no control? So there's a lot of things that really, really, really baffle me. And to be honest, I don't know if I'll ever get an answer. I know the things that I know. You know what I'm saying? That's what I know. I know that I can't change people's lives. I know that I can lead a horse to water. That doesn't mean that I can make you drink it. I can lead you to a greener pasture. That doesn't mean that I can make you eat that pasture. But I definitely am going to try to educate you. Right? It doesn't mean that you have to eat any of that. It doesn't mean you have to listen to everything that I say, because we're given choices. But if you believe in what I'm saying and it's making sense, go do your own research. And then when it's time, because it is time, you know what I'm saying? People need to stop looking the other way and just call it out. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, in my eyes, it's like, come on, man, we're past that. People being scared, and no, for what? What are you scared of? Of losing that 6-7 figure paycheck salary and not what really matters? Like, come on, man. That shit, it doesn't make no sense to me anymore. It does not make any sense to me. And it's like, call it out. What are you scared of? Are you scared of your brother, your sister? Is like, because I'll tell you like this, I used to be one of those that blood was thicker than water, until I found out that doesn't mean shit. That loyalty, because everybody will tell you that they love you. Everybody will tell you that they love you, but how many people show you? Right. No, you're right, Robert. And I want to go more into it. Like all these nonprofits and how much they make and all that. I really want to do a big eyes. I'm just trying to figure out how to do it, because I do want to put you and Marcus and TC involved, and maybe even West Lund out of Rochester, is because I don't know how to do an episode like that, because it's so big. There's so many nonprofits, but to show where this money was going and then where it's not, and it's not in the community, but it's definitely going to these people's pockets. And I want to show of how are you getting all this money and the community still look like this. They're still suffering. So we're paying to get rid of a problem, but honestly, we only pay for it to make it worse. So I hope everybody has a great weekend. I will be tomorrow. I think it's at 6. Robert, Crazy Warpsman, he wants to do something, a podcast. I guess that's what I'm calling it, is and it talking about showing, educating people of what's really going on and what we can do about it, because there is ways. We don't have to be satisfied with people making billions in our community still looking like this. Where's the money going? Like, if we're not going to speak up, who? If not us, who? Because previous generations have been, and they were killed trying to make a change, trying to make a difference. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, come on, man. Like, we got to do better. We got to do, thank you. 6 p.m. tomorrow, and we're going to go over One Minnesota and Horizons. Because I want to show you guys. I want to show, like, why should these nonprofits make all these millions of dollars, and yet none of it actually hits the streets? Not what it should be hitting the streets, because they're more worried about administrative costs and cost about houses, transportation, and then we make it where they can use this money all under the guise of saying that they're helping the community, and they're making it worse. So, like I said, I'll be back on here tomorrow night, about 6 o'clock. So I hope everybody has a great weekend. And this is your boy, the Urban Conservative. And I want everybody to win or fail, freedom or jail, heaven or hell. Wish me well. And y'all have a great weekend, and I will see you guys Monday back on the Urban Conservative. Have a great one.
This challenge. Try to defeat me.
You know why? You lack the heart to chase the life you dream. You need a villain to make yourself seem clean. Pointing fingers at me like I'm the cause of your shame. But tell me, does that make you righteous? Nah, you just playing a game. You mastered the mask, the art of deceit. But me, I stand naked in the truth. No retreat. BLM snapping flicks. Hope they catch my essence, not the flaws. Life's price tag drops while I'm stacking chips, breaking laws.
This will be your greatest challenge.
Voices buzzing like static, I absorb the feedback. They throw shade, but I reflect it right back. Believe that. Pastor's pulpit empty, the body count rise. 16 souls lost, another mother's cry. Death on the rise. There's a battle raging. No one's truly secure. Gotta hustle till you crumble. Our life's allure. Eyes on me, they plotting to steal my crown. I tell them hungry wolves, my protection's never down. What I do, step out, grind, try to make it right. They always need a scapegoat, someone to blame at night. Now I'm legit, a citizen paying his dues, but they still whisper my name like it's so new. Never broke bread with them, never shared a meal. There's envies that poison, born from the loneliness they feel.